I started handing over my paycheck at 19 to help my family, just for a while. Years later, one quiet discovery made me realize I wasn't helping, I was being used. The first time I handed over my paycheck, it felt like love. I had just turned 19. My mom was behind on rent, the car needed brakes, and my little brother's school was sending warning letters home again. I was fresh out of high school, flipping burgers full-time, smelling like grease and freezer burn, but proud to be working. Real work. Real money. My name on the check. And when I walked through the door and laid that envelope on the kitchen counter, my mom looked at me like I had just saved the world. She gave me this tight hug, the kind where you feel her whole body let go. She said, "Thank you, baby." And for a second, it felt like all the mess in our lives might start to clear. I told myself I would just help until things evened out. A few months, maybe. Once Mom found steady hours again, and my stepdad, Randy, stopped talking about the back pain that kept him on the couch all day, then I could start putting a little aside for me. Community college, maybe. A used truck. A future. But that never came. Instead, I got used to the routine. Clock in, clock out, cash the check, hand it over. Bills, rent, gas, emergencies. My wallet never felt full, and I never asked for anything back. I figured that was what being a man meant, stepping up when no one else would. I started calling it, just until we catch up. Funny thing is, we never did. Still, at first, it felt good. Like I was finally part of something. Like I mattered. Every Friday, my mom would smile as I walked through that door. She'd already have the bills lined up on the table. Water, lights, groceries. Always just enough for everything, but never for me. That was okay. I told myself it was okay. I was the oldest. I could wait. My time would come. But weeks became months. And months became years. Then one day, I came home, set the check down like always, and nobody looked up. Nobody said thank you. Nobody hugged me. They just split the cash and started arguing about who got what. And in that moment, standing there in my own home, I felt like a stranger holding the receipt for a life I was not even living. Still, I said nothing. Because that was love, right? But something was already starting to break. And I had no idea how deep it would go. It was not one big moment that changed things. It was little ones. Like the way my mom stopped asking before using the money. At first, she used to say, "Mind if I put this toward the power bill?" Or, "We're short on groceries. Okay if I take a bit?" Eventually, she just took it. Then there was Randy, always on the recliner like it was his throne. He started saying stuff like, "Well, you make more than me now," which was rich, considering I never once saw the man fill out a job application. He would talk about how hard life was, how today's world was rough, but I was the one sweating through 12-hour shifts in a kitchen that smelled like burnt oil and cheap cheese. Once, I came home with a little bonus from work. $60. Nothing wild, but it felt good. I was going to treat myself, maybe new shoes or just a good meal at a sit-down place. I mentioned it offhand, just happy to have earned it. The next day, that $60 was gone. My brother had a new pair of headphones. When I brought it up, Mom just said he needed them for school. No apology, no discussion, just gone. That was the first time I felt something I did not want to feel, resentment. Not anger, exactly. Not hate. Just this quiet burn under my ribs. The kind that keeps you up at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when your life became someone else's survival plan. And I hated that I felt that way. I hated myself for feeling bitter over helping the people I loved. I told myself it was selfish, that I had it easier than they did, that I could wait. But then came the birthday. Not mine. My little brother's. Mom went all out. Balloons, streamers, pizza, cake, gifts. Randy was cracking beers, showing off like he had something to do with it. I watched from the kitchen doorway, my arms crossed, grease still on my shirt from work. I asked quietly, "How do you afford all this?" And my mom just said, "You helped." That was it. No smile. No recognition. Just that flat truth. You helped. Like I was not a person, just a resource. That was the night I stopped feeling proud and started feeling trapped. I tried not to think about it too much after that. I kept my head down, worked my shifts, brought the money home, and told myself things would get better once my brother graduated or once Randy finally got off his lazy butt. I kept setting these imaginary milestones, little checkpoints in my mind. Just get through this month. Just until tax time. Just one more year. But life has a way of stretching temporary into forever. By the time I hit 23, I had nothing to show for it. No savings. No car in my name. No place of my own. My friends from high school had started to drift off, moving in with girlfriends, going back to school, buying trucks, posting beach photos from Florida or Vegas. Meanwhile, I was still sleeping in the same lumpy twin bed I had since I was 15, with a busted drawer that never closed and socks stuffed into the gap in the wall to keep the draft out. I remember one night in particular. I had just pulled a double. My feet were screaming, my back felt like it was made of bricks, and my uniform shirt was stiff with dried soda syrup and fryer grease. I came home to find Randy playing video games, shouting into his headset, while my brother blasted music from his bedroom. Nobody even looked up when I walked in. I stepped into the kitchen and saw the last slice of leftover pizza, the one I had been thinking about all day, gone. Empty box in the trash. Crust scattered on the counter like someone had thrown a party. That was not what broke me, though. It was what I saw stuck to the fridge. A list. A handwritten list in my mom's careful cursive. At the top, it said, "Next payday." Below that, electric bill, groceries, Randy's insurance, Malik's school trip, cell phones, gas, clothes for Malik, Netflix, hair appointment. At the bottom, in parentheses, try to save Mike $20 if anything's left. Try. That was the part that stung. Not even save, try to. As if my well-being was optional. A bonus. I stood there staring at that list for a long time, something tightening in my chest. I was not living. I was just fueling, like a generator running in the background, powering someone else's life while mine sat in permanent standby mode. I went to my room, shut the door, and for the first time in years, I cried. Not loud or messy, just quiet, hot tears that soaked into my pillow while I stared at the ceiling and asked myself a question I had been too scared to say out loud. Is this all I am going to be? Because if it was, if this was the whole picture, then I did not know how much longer I could stand to look at it. I started pulling away in small ways. Nothing dramatic. I still handed over the check, still smiled at my mom, still played Big Brother when Malik needed help with math. But inside, something had shifted. I was watching now, not just living through it. Watching how things moved when I was not giving, not fixing, not stepping in first. That is when I noticed something I had not let myself see before. They had built their lives around me. The entire budget of the house, every light bulb, every late-night drive, every surprise pizza night or new pair of sneakers, it all leaned on one thing, that I would always hand over the money. It was not help anymore. It was infrastructure. One night, Randy had a friend over, some guy with a ponytail and work boots who smelled like gas station cologne. They were drinking beers in the living room, laughing like teenagers, and I was in the kitchen scrubbing dishes I never ate off of. I heard Randy say, "Mike's got us covered. Kid works like a machine." His buddy laughed and said, "Must be nice having a built-in paycheck." They both cracked up. I froze. Plate in hand, water still running. A built-in paycheck. I do not think they even knew I was there. I did not say anything. I finished the dishes, dried my hands, and walked out without a word. But that sentence stayed with me, like a nail under the skin, just deep enough to hurt when I moved. And then, 2 weeks later, came the moment that pushed everything past the point of no return. Mom asked to sit down and talk. That was never good. Not in our house. She had her serious tone on. I thought maybe something happened. Someone was sick or we got evicted again. But no. She said Malik's school was doing a summer program. A trip to D.C. for selected students. It cost hundreds. She showed me the paper like it was gold. Then she said, "We need your whole check this month." I blinked. "What about rent?" She said, "I'll figure something out." Which always meant I would figure something out. I asked, "And what about me?" She looked confused, like she genuinely did not understand the question. "I was thinking of starting classes," I said, almost embarrassed to say it out loud. "I've been looking at HVAC training. It's not much, but..." She cut me off. "Malik has a real shot here." As if I did not. She placed her hand on mine and said, "You'll understand when you're a parent." But I already felt like one. And nobody understood me. That was the moment something cracked wide open. And I knew, deep down, I could not keep doing this. I did not say no right away. Instead, I nodded slowly, told her I would think about it. That was my habit. Go along first, process later. I needed time to breathe. To sit with the weight of what she had just asked without losing it in the moment. But inside, My mind was already unraveling. That summer trip for Malik? It was not just a big ask. It was everything I had been quietly saving from side work, tucked away in a rusted Altoids tin beneath my mattress. Cash from overtime, weekend gigs fixing appliances with my buddy Terrence, and even a few small jobs off Craigslist. I had about $1,600 saved. Not much, but to me, it was sacred. The start of my own thing. The first crack at leaving this loop. I had not told anyone about that money. It was mine. Or so I thought. A few days later, I came home from a late shift, tired and sore, craving nothing but silence. But the house was buzzing, TV blaring, music from Malik's room, Randy yelling at the screen again. I passed by the kitchen and noticed something missing. The Altoids tin. I ran to my room, pulled the mattress up, gone. Panic hit so fast it made my vision blur. I tore through drawers, the closet, the shoebox under my bed. Nothing. I walked straight back into the kitchen, heart pounding. My mom was there, stirring sauce like it was just another night. I asked her if she had seen a tin that was under my mattress. She did not even blink. "Oh," she said casually. "I thought that was for Malik's trip." She thought. I asked how she even knew it was there. She looked over her shoulder, shrugged, and said, "I was doing laundry and saw it sticking out." I stood there, hands shaking, every word caught in my throat. I had not even gotten to say no. I had not even been asked. That money was taken, not borrowed. Taken. Randy wandered in and slapped me on the back like I had just won something. "You're a good kid, Mike. Real backbone of the family." I walked out before I said something I would regret. I sat on the curb in the dark, head in my hands, and for the first time in years, I let myself say it out loud. This is not love. This is using. And I knew I was done. I did not explode. I did not yell. I did not storm back inside and demand answers. That surprised me most of all. Instead, something inside me went quiet. Not calm exactly, more like focused, like a switch had flipped from survival mode to planning mode. The next morning, I woke up before everyone else. The house was still dark, that early blue kind of quiet where even the fridge hum sounds loud. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked around my room like I was seeing it for the first time. The peeling posters. The dent in the wall from when Randy slammed the door during one of his moods. The mattress that sagged in the middle like it had given up. This room had never been mine. It was just where I slept between paychecks. I went to work and did not tell anyone what happened. I smiled at my coworkers. I flipped burgers. I counted change. But my mind was somewhere else, building a map. If I stopped paying, how long would it take before the lights went out? Who would panic first? Who would pretend everything was fine until it was not? That thought scared me. Not because it made me cruel, but because it made things clear. They did not need me as a son. They needed me as a system. I started making changes quietly. I opened a new bank account at a credit union across town. I set up direct deposit there and left just enough in the old account to look normal. I stopped volunteering for extra shifts at home, stopped covering small expenses when someone forgot their wallet. No one noticed. That hurt more than I expected. One night, Mom asked if I could spot Randy gas money. I said I could not. I blamed work hours getting cut. She frowned but moved on. No concern. No follow-up. Another night, Malik asked if I could help pay for a new phone case. I said maybe later. He rolled his eyes and walked away. And then came the twist I never saw coming. Randy announced he had plans. A trip with his friends. 3 days. Fishing. Drinking. Getting his head right. He asked if I could cover the house while he was gone. Cover the house. I asked how much the trip cost. He laughed and said, "Do not worry about it. You got us." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the walls creak and the TV glow bleed under my door. I felt something settle into place, heavy and solid. They were not just depending on me. They were betting on me never leaving. And I realized something else, something colder. If I did not stop this now, I never would. The moment was coming. And when it did, I knew I would not raise my voice. I would just stop. Randy left for his fishing trip on a Friday morning. I watched him from the porch, cooler in one hand, gas station coffee in the other, acting like some warrior heading off to battle. He tossed me a lazy thumbs up and said, "Appreciate you holding it down, champ." Champ. I almost laughed. That weekend, the house was quieter than usual. My mom stayed in her room most of the time. Malik played video games. Nobody cooked, nobody cleaned. The place just sort of drifted. I stayed out of the way, took long walks, went to the park, Sat on a bench with headphones in, watching strangers pass by with their dogs, their strollers, their Saturday plans. I kept thinking, they have no idea what it feels like to live like this. To be 23 and feel 50. To carry a family that never once asked if you were tired. I had always told myself I was doing the right thing. That being the reliable one was a badge of honor. That family came first. But that idea only works when family sees you as a person, not a wallet and work boots. Sunday night, Randy came home with a sunburn and a case of beer under his arm. Said the trip was just what he needed. Told Mom about the boat ride, the fresh air, the way he finally got a break. That word, break, it hit me sideways. When was the last time I got a break? No one asked. Instead, Randy turned to me, grinning ear to ear, and said, "Oh, by the way, rent's due Wednesday. You mind?" I looked him in the eye, and something in me just stopped. There was no anger, no fire, just this cool, still feeling. I said, "Actually, yeah, I do mind." He laughed, thought I was joking. Then I stood up, walked past him, and went straight to my room. Locked the door, sat on the bed, breathed. I heard him outside the door, his voice sharp now. "What's that supposed to mean?" I did not answer. I grabbed the envelope I had filled that morning. Cash from my last check, my side gigs, everything. But this time, it was not going in the kitchen drawer. It was coming with me. I had already made arrangements with Terrence. He had a spare room. Said I could crash there while I figured things out. I grabbed my duffel bag, packed only what I needed, clothes, shoes, documents. Left the rest behind. Right before I opened the door, I looked around that room one last time. The bed, the cracked lamp, the walls with old thumbtack holes where dreams used to hang. I whispered the word to myself. Enough. Then I walked out. When I stepped into Terrence's place, I felt something I had not felt in years. Air. Not just the literal kind, though his apartment did have a working ceiling fan and no smell of stale fried food. I mean the kind of air that fills your lungs when you are not constantly bracing for the next request, the next guilt trip, the next favor disguised as love. He handed me a beer, clapped me on the shoulder, and said, "You finally did it, man." And I did. I had walked away from the job I never signed up for, the unpaid role of family provider and emotional punching bag. That first night, I slept on a couch with busted springs and an old quilt that smelled like cats, and I still slept better than I had in months. The calls started the next morning. First my mom, then Randy, then Malik, though he just texted once. "Are you coming back or what?" I let them go to voicemail. I listened to the first couple, just out of curiosity. Mom's voice was confused at first, then worried, then frustrated. "You left without a word," she said. "We have bills coming up. You cannot just disappear." Randy's message was shorter. "This ain't funny. You got responsibilities, Mike." Funny how they had always called it help when I stayed, but now that I was gone, it was called responsibility. By the third day, the messages started to shift. Guilt. After everything we've done for you. Shame. So you're just gonna leave your little brother hanging? Then came the threats. "If you don't send something by Friday, we're gonna fall behind. That's on you." I blocked the numbers. Not out of spite. Out of survival. I knew if I picked up, if I even cracked the door an inch, I would fall right back into it. The loop. The role. The sacrifice. And I was not doing that anymore. I picked up shifts at a hardware store Terrence hooked me up with. Manual work. Low pay. But it was mine. Every dollar I made was mine. I bought a notebook from the corner store and started writing things down. Goals. Budget. A list of stuff I wanted to do just for me. Like take that HVAC course. Maybe save for a beat-up car of my own. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror in Terrence's bathroom, toothbrush in one hand, and I barely recognized the guy looking back. He looked lighter, not healed, not perfect, but finally free. About 2 weeks after I left, the knock came. It was a Sunday afternoon. I had just gotten off work and was sitting on the floor of Terrence's place, eating cheap takeout straight from the bag. My phone had been quiet for days since I blocked the usual numbers, so the sound startled me. 3 steady knocks at the door. I opened it halfway and saw my mother standing there. No Randy. No Malik. Just her. She looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was finally standing at my full height for once. "Hi, baby," she said, trying to smile. I said nothing. Just waited. She shifted awkwardly, holding her purse in both hands like it weighed 100 pounds. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. "Barely." She walked in, and looked around like the place offended her. Then she sat on the couch and folded her hands in her lap. "I did not come to argue," she said. "I just wanted to understand." But that was not true. She came to explain. She talked for 10 minutes straight about how hard it had been since I left, how the power got shut off for 2 days, how Malik missed a school trip, how Randy was trying his best. She kept saying the same thing over and over. "We did not know you were that unhappy." That was the part that broke me. Because yes, they did. They had just gotten used to ignoring it. "I gave everything," I finally said. "And the one time I needed to be seen, not as a wallet, not as a workhorse, but as your son, you looked right past me." She looked hurt. That made me feel worse than I expected. But I kept going. I was not supposed to sacrifice my future so everyone else could be comfortable. That is not what love is. She looked at the floor, then at me. "We miss you." I nodded. "I miss what I thought we had." She did not respond to that. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "Just something to help. I know you've been struggling, too." I did not even look at it. I pushed it gently back into her hand. "I'm not struggling," I said. "I'm rebuilding." That word hung in the air for a while. She stood up slowly, said she hoped I'd come by sometime. Maybe dinner. I told her maybe. She left, and I stood there in the doorway for a long time afterward, wondering how much of that visit was real and how much of it was just strategy, one last attempt to pull me back into the machine. But either way, the answer was the same. I was not going back. It has been 8 months since I walked out. I live in a small apartment now, just one bedroom, creaky floors, and the occasional spider in the shower, but it is mine. Every cup in the cabinet, every pair of socks in the drawer, every dented pan in the kitchen. I paid for all of it. No one else gets a vote. I work 2 jobs, one at the hardware store, the other helping out with HVAC installs on weekends. The hours are long, and sometimes I come home so tired I just collapse on the couch with my boots still on. But even that feels better than the exhaustion I used to carry. The kind that came from being erased every day in a house where love was conditional. I started classes last month. Night school. HVAC certification. It is not glamorous, but it is a way forward. My way. I sat there in the classroom that first night, surrounded by other tired guys with calloused hands and hopeful eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Mom still sends messages sometimes. Mostly short ones now. "Hope you're eating." "Your brother says hi. Let us know if you need anything." I never block her, but I do not reply much either. Because here is what I finally understand. You can love your family and still walk away. You can forgive people and still choose to live differently. I do not hate them. I do not wish them harm. But I will never again give up my whole self so that someone else can stay comfortable. Looking back, I know I let it go on too long. I confused sacrifice with duty. I thought being needed was the same as being valued. But those are 2 very different things. I do not have much yet. No fancy car. No big savings. No perfect ending. But I wake up every day and know where I stand. And that is worth everything I left behind. I said, enough, and I meant it. Because supporting your family should not mean erasing your own life. And now that I have stepped out of the shadows, I am not going back.